So as you can see, I currently have 0 brakes left. The front rotor is supposed to be drilled and slotted, and as you can see, it is clearly not. So worn to the fact that it looks like a flat rotor. And the ridges is super visible, like you don't even need to put your finger on it. When you push the brake pedal, it just sinks all the way to the floor. The pads are pretty much on the metal, so we're about due for brakes. So that was my main motive of replacing the brakes, is that I desperately needed them. So luckily Tony pulled through and let me buy his brakes. Otherwise, I would have had to just gone with the OEM brakes, which would have been fine, but I really love Blitz and their brand. So without further ado, let's get the brakes on the car. So first thing to do to take off the brakes, you have 2 17mm bolts on the back. To take off the rotor, you have 2 threads right here that you'll take a bolt and screw them into to push the rotor out. And on the top of my head, I don't have the thread pitch, so on the screen I'll put whatever thread pitch it is for the brake disc. And after that, we're gonna take off the brake line and switch it out for the stainless steel brake lines. So here are the brakes for the BRZ. So they are used, and the previous owner left some brake fluid in them, so it's taken away the paint just a little bit. And they also came with some stainless steel Stop Tech brake lines, and you can just tell how old these are. These are from 2018 and these are from 2015. Just look how cool these look. The paint job on these is really nice. It gives off a really nice metallic red finish. And these are the rear calipers. These are a 4-piston and the fronts are a 6-piston. I am just so in love with how these look. Just wait till you guys see the rotors, because the rotors are huge. So don't get mistaken, there are 2 bolts right here that hold in the brake pads. You actually want the 2 bolts in the back here that hold on the brake caliper bracket. And like I said, it's a really hard angle to show. Do not undo the 14mm unless you are only changing pads. You would want to do the 17s in the back if you are also changing the rotor. So in this case, we're gonna be taking off the 2 17s in the back. Next up, you got this clip for the brake line. I'm gonna take it out with needle nose pliers. But before we mess with the brake line, let's focus on taking off the rotor. Guys, just look at the size difference between the stock rotor and the Blitz rotor. My hand for comparison on this one, my hand for comparison on this one. These have a hefty weight too. So it looks like we're gonna have to trim my carbon fiber brake duct, because it turns out the brake caliper is so big it's actually hitting the end right here. So I'm probably gonna have to cut off maybe about ½ an inch right here. This isn't the best tool for the job because it is carbon fiber, but this is just a Harbor Freight Dremel. That, it's off. So that's cool. So this is actually a 5x114 and 5x100 brake rotor. So this, I can imagine, would fit on the WRXs as well. So with the brake kit, it comes with some of these copper washers, and it comes with 4 of them and 2 washers going with each one. I'm gonna put one on the bolt here, and I hope it goes this way. And it should look like that with the washers. Alright, so currently the Blitz big brake kit is on the car. We had to trim the brake duct on the back. Now next we gotta tighten it. So what I have here is a Blue Point / Snap-on hex kit. If anyone's curious, this is the part number. Now this is pretty much everything that you would need regards to Torx, reverse Torx, hex, and the Blitz big brake kit is actually an H10 socket. Alright, next up, you should really have a 10mm flare wrench, but I got a Duralast 10mm that'll do the job just fine as long as you use the open end part, but you should use a flare 10mm wrench. Oh shit. Alright, so make sure you brake clean this and get it all nice and clean. So I did end up getting a 10mm flare nut wrench. This is what it looks like. It's made specifically for brake lines, and make sure that you don't strip your brake line nut, because as you guys just saw, I almost did strip it because it did end up slipping. So this makes sure it grabs the brake line so you don't strip it, and it's a lot better for grip. I'm gonna take the 10mm here, attempt to loosen it, and take a vice grip and hook it onto here. So when we do this, I have to be as quick as possible. So as soon as I take this off, I'm gonna put this right back in and then just tighten it out. Next up, gonna use the bracket that the Stop Tech kit came with. Gonna tap it in here. Hammer. Oh my gosh, that looks so good. Okay, so it's currently really late. We got 1 out of 4 brake calipers on. I am not excited to do the rears because I do know I do need to trim the brake shield off of the rear. So tomorrow we're gonna be tackling that. But luckily, with the power of editing, it'll only take a second. All right, now we're back in the garage working on the BRZ and we're gonna take off the rear brakes. All right, for the rear brake caliper, it is a 14mm, so we're gonna take that off now. So as you can see with the Stop Tech brake kit, this also comes with the washers and bolt necessary, so I'm gonna get this set up as well. Alright, so next up I gotta paint the backing plate because you don't want this to rust. So I'm gonna take a plate and kind of use it as a protectant back here. Be sure to not paint the drum here because that'll be not good for your parking brake. So. We got the caliper in, we got the brake line in. I had the caliper on here just so I could see the position of the brake line, just so it's a little bit easier to go around and tighten everything up. Gonna take off the caliper, put the rotor back on, and then put the caliper back on top of the rotor. Dude, these brakes are freaking ginormous, oh my god. Okay, so I just got done with one side of the car, and I just realized that I actually have the brake calipers and the rotors on the wrong side. They were even labeled with R and L, and last night it was really late, so as I was facing the car, I got them mixed up, so I have to do them again. Okay guys, so the brakes are finally done on the BRZ. I'm super stoked to see how this car would look with the wheels and everything. So all that's left to do is bleeding the brake. So as you can see, I am all alone in the garage right now. So I'm gonna show you my method of bleeding the brake all by yourself. You don't need any special tool, you don't need compressed air. All you need is a water bottle, a hose, and plenty of brake fluid so you don't run low on that. Let's bleed the brakes on the BRZ so we can finally get it off jack stands. So let's do that. So with a big brake kit, you'll have a bleeder valve on the outside and a bleeder valve on the inside. Alright guys, so we just got the install done for the BRZ. The Blitz big brake kit looks really good and I'm super excited to get this car on the road. I do plan on tracking this car eventually, but before I do that, I do want to set up the cooling ducts. As you can see, I have the APR cooling ducts. I'm not quite done finishing the install, so that'll be for a different video. And soon we will get this car on the track. I do know that the Blitz big brake kit is not needed for the track, but I desperately needed brakes. As you guys saw, the brake discs were getting super thin and I was running really low on pad life. So this was a much needed replacement for the brake, and I did want to go on the track eventually, so these went on at the perfect time for me. That'll be for a different video. So with that guys, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm super stoked about the Blitz big brake kit. I think it looks awesome and I'm super excited to see what's next for the car. So with that, we'll see you in the next one.